Gothenburg, Sweden, and again in Athens in 1997, and of course the memorable gold medal run at the Olympic Games in Atlanta in 1996. He will start things off in this Pan American Games 4x100-meter relay final. He'll be passing off to Glenroy Gilbert, who was also on those two World Championship teams and the Olympic Games Championship squad. And then Glenroy Gilbert will give it to Brad McCuaig, and Trevino Betty will be the anchor runner. Now, Geoff, as we take a look at the other teams in this field, St. Lucia in 1, Jamaica in 2, Brazil in 3, Trinidad and Tobago in 4, the United States in 5, Canada in 6, the Netherlands Antilles in 7, and Guatemala in 8. People might wonder why Donovan Bailey is running the opening leg rather than the anchor leg.
I'm one of the supporters of Donovan running this first leg, largely because he has more influence on the baton running the first leg than any other runner, allowing for about 6 or 7 meters of safety in the zone to make sure you don't get disqualified with the exchange. He will carry the baton around 104, 105 meters. His job then is to carry it and pass with his right hand to Glenroy Gilbert. So he needs to be a good starter, a good turn runner, and he runs hard into the zone and carefully passes it on. My only concern is that he may put his Achilles tendon under a little bit of strain as a result of having to run the turn, because there's a lot of torque on the ankles when you have to run the turn. Glenroy then next in the second position, and he has influence on the baton only 100 meters. But he runs with and without the baton for 124 meters. Glenroy runs about 2 to 3 meters faster when he's in a relay than he does when he's doing a normal sprint. And there we see a tumultuous acceptance and welcome to Donovan Bailey. The third runner, just to carry on with this thought, the third runner does exactly the same as the second one, has the same responsibilities. He must react to a check mark, gather the baton safely and hand it over safely, but he of course has the turn to run. And then the fourth runner, the anchor man, runs with the baton only around 95 to 96 meters, allowing again for some safety so that they don't get disqualified. So that is why I'm quite happy to see Donovan running in the first position. He's never been technically a great relay runner. He's always lacking confidence on that last leg with whether he's going to get the baton or not. Here his job is not to get disqualified at the start and to get that baton safely into Glenroy Gilbert's hands in the shortest possible time. For a 20-meter exchange zone, allowing for a 10-meter acceleration zone into it, teams should try for an exchange in the second half of the passing zone. And at world-class level for men, the baton only takes about 1.8 to 1.88 seconds to go through that zone. That is the secret, to have good, slick passing so that the baton lose minimum speed in the exchange zone. Let's see how many of these teams can do that. United States to watch, certainly, Canada to watch, and Brazil to watch. Those would be my 3 favorites.
Brazil had the best qualifying time, a clocking of 38.67. Canada was timed in 38.74. It was interesting to listen to the reaction when Donovan Bailey was introduced. He has been the center of some controversy over the past week, ever since arriving in the city. Because of his failure to run in the 100 meters, he was the spokesman for the Pan American Games. And the topic of Donovan Bailey and the amount of money he was paid to be the game spokesman was discussed on radio and on television and was written about in the newspapers, but that's all forgotten now as he starts things off for Canada, running out of lane 6. Donovan Bailey off to a very good start. Look at him fly into the turn. One of the best second runners in the world down the back straight. Glenroy Gilbert has the baton. Glenroy Gilbert is now pouring it on as he goes down that back straight. Glenroy Gilbert will be getting to Brad McCuaig. McCuaig through the turn in the lead. Now Brazil is beginning to move. Brazil closing in on the Canadian team. This is going to be close. Here's the final exchange. Trevino Betty running for Canada on the inside. It's Brazil. Brazil with a slight edge now. Betty trying to come back, but Brazil has the lead, and Brazil is going to claim the gold medal. Canada second, Jamaica third. The time 38.19, and that is inside the previous games record 38.31 set by the United States in Mexico City in 1975. Canada may have lost a little ground through the turn. Brad McCuaig and Trevino Betty, because going down the back straight, Geoff, it appeared as though Glenroy Gilbert had Canada in front.
Glenroy ran his usual superb leg down the back straight. I thought there was some slight hesitation in the first changeover between Donovan and Glenroy, but there was no doubting a magnificent run over the first leg by Donovan Bailey, who simply tore away from the rest of the field to give Canada an initial advantage. But they lost a little in the second 200 meters, and Brazil were very, very strong up the final leg.
So the Brazilian team of Oliveira, Silva, Ribeiro and Andre Silva claim the gold medal, with the Canadian squad of Donovan Bailey, Glenroy Gilbert, Brad McCuaig and Trevino taking the silver.
And Brazil further underline what a very fine games in athletics they have had.
Disappointment for the Canadian team, no doubt, as many thought that they would continue their relay domination that we have seen twice at the World Championship level and at the Olympic Games, but here in Winnipeg, it was not to be.
Here's that final exchange. Brazil away in the lead, and the Brazilian number 3 runner starts to celebrate already. He knows his man is very strong down the final 100 meters.
Andre Silva, the anchor for Brazil. Sorry, Geoff.
Canada, good second. Here we come. Reaction to the check marks. Accelerating away. Hand back for a steady target. Not perhaps as clean as we would like in a close run race like this, but Brazil had too much in the end. Here's the second exchange. Glenroy having run a good back straight. Hand goes back. Baton in safely. Brad McCuaig on his way. But Brazil and the United States chasing very hard at this point. Then we come into the final exchange where the stagger has almost run out, so these outgoing athletes are very close together, accelerating away Trevino, but Brazil get it roughly at the same time, or perhaps half a meter ahead, and it is all theirs up the final straight. Very simple act to pass a baton, very difficult to do it when you're going very fast. Good win by Brazil, 38.19, a very respectable time. Silver medal for Canada, and in third place, Jamaica.
Let's take a look at the Canadian team as we watch them run this relay and see if there were any flaws in the exchange. But Donovan Bailey, running the opening leg, got away to a very good start.
Tremendous first leg. Glenroy again runs so much better in a relay than in a flat 100 meters. Steadily puts that baton. There's some slight hesitation there to Brad McCuaig. They can lose fractions of a second with a little exchange fault like that. He runs his turn well. Now Trevino accelerates away, perhaps puts that hand back fractionally early, but gets it safely. But he can't match the Brazilian on the final 100 meters.
Just a bit of a bobble on the exchange from Glenroy Gilbert to Brad McCuaig, and that may have just been enough to cost the Canadian team a gold medal. Silver for Canada. Brazil takes the gold. We'll be back with more Pan American Games coverage after this.
And Marnie's always been straight from the hip, which is kind of like myself. So I think that after we talk things, I mean, actually, we don't even have a problem. I think everything will be fine.
Yeah, sometimes I think sincerity is better than class in a lot of situations. Definitely. So you're an honest man, and we'll have time to talk in Seville a little more about some of the trials and tribulations. Well done. Great first leg. Quick thought on that.
Hey, man, I've had probably the last 8 days. I'll probably had the best training I've had in 5 years. So I mean, that's running the corner, running the straight. So I'll be all right. I'll be all right for the rest of the year.
Good luck.
Thanks.
There's Donovan Bailey. Glenroy, your thoughts on maybe what, and Brad, you can come into this too, because you were kind of thrown into the middle of that whole firestorm. How did you feel as sprinters with maybe what Donovan went through and what it might have done to Team Canada in the relay?
Well, I don't think it was much of a distraction, because Donovan's used to dealing with the media attention, and again with us, it was only about one thing. It was about coming out here and performing to the best of our ability. We knew that Brazil would be tough, the U.S., Jamaica. We were looking at, this is our first run. We're running without one of our key men in Bruni Surin. So, again, that was a very good time for not having Bruni run in third leg.
Sort of unfair to put you in a position to counsel, Donovan, but since you're a veteran of both Winter and Summer Olympic Games, did you ever get to him and say, are you sure about what you're doing in terms of the public recourse?
Not really. I mean, Donovan's never asked my opinion or really my, he never really asked me to say anything. So, I mean, if he was to ask me, maybe my advice might be slightly different. But again, it's he deals with it the way he deals with it. So there's nothing I can say about it.
Quick thought looking ahead, Brad. When you come through a situation like this, how difficult was it for you personally?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not really that difficult. Maybe it's because I'm not used to it, and I'm kind of going in like I guess an infant, if you will, because I'm really not scared of or looking at it as anything that can throw me off because it's a first-time experience. So as far as I'm concerned, it's like this every time. So
yeah, and often it is.
Yeah. So it's when it comes down to it, you got to run what you got. You got to run your time. You got to run hard. And you got to run against your competitors. So a lot of the talk that went on, it really didn't affect the job that we had to do out here.
When you had a tough final, 100-meter final, you knew the day before in the heats that somehow going to Flagstaff had been a mistake. Do you think physically you just didn't have it, or mentally was it in your head that this was going to be a difficult situation?
You kind of do, but being this is my second year in a row on the national team, and it's sometimes you don't feel great, but it doesn't matter if you feel good or if you don't feel good. The race went. And whether you're ready or not, the gun went, and Glenroy's coming down the backstretch, and I better run hard. And thanks to the crowd, they helped me get through the middle half of the corner. But it's tough being way out there in lane 6 when everybody's on the inside. You really don't know what's going on until you come into the exchange zone. And then it's chaos, and then before you know it, the race is done.
Great accountability, great performance, silver medal, something to be proud of.
All right, thanks.
Thanks to Brad McCuaig and all of Team Canada.